characters that will never come back but are alive. So you can get your obvious ones out of the way: Spencer Moon, Zoe Slater, Todd McCartney. I think that's his name. That might just be.
That's just the actor who played Mark.
Yeah, okay, but his name was
Obviously,
Todd.
he can't come back, can he?
But yeah, you know what I mean. It's Todd is obviously a reference to one of our subreddit videos, so I recommend you check out. Just check out that video.
I don't.
And yeah, so these are just characters who are alive but won't come back for obvious reasons. They were just no one remembers them. No one remembers.
Well,
them
no, it's one of those things with soaps where, for some reason, some characters just never come back. Just no reason. Obviously, there are the characters who probably have left, but there's not really the room. Like, why would they ever? Like Stuart Highway, for example. He's never. Why would he come back? It's no point. Like, he was a little figment of imagination. It's fine. You don't need him. I'd probably say Vincent as well. I mean, he was technically like dead, but we didn't see the body, so like, but also he's probably never coming back. But it's from some of the scenes where they don't even have to be like a character that you go, oh, that was awful, because there are just different characters from different time periods that it's just not going to happen, right? Like, at the end of the day, there are characters who just aren't going to come back because they were a failure of a character, they never really got going, and they shouldn't really been on the show in the first place. Like Finley, like Finley Baker. Like he tried, he had a bit, he didn't do much. Like, are we ever going to see him again? Absolutely not. Isaac, maybe we'll see Isaac when Patrick dies, but other than that, is there much room for him? Cherie, just a lot of the characters from the previous era, honestly. Are we going to see Emma ever again? Absolutely not. She's never coming back. And a lot of these are just because it's the tried and tested. They gave it a chance, didn't work. But there are also just characters for different reasons. There are more established long-term characters that just probably aren't going to make an appearance. Like some characters who were probably prominent 20 years ago, but at this point they've shown that they have no real intentions of coming back. And for a while you could have said Grant for a good chunk of time until his previous stint. You have the obvious names like Zoe Slater, who everybody wants Michelle Ryan to come back, but for some reason, it just never seems to come to pass. Like, she just doesn't seem interested in coming back to EastEnders. No one really knows why, and we are just kind of left with more questions. It would be great to have Zoe return, and now we have Kat with like Kat being a grandma, with Zoe having kids. I would assume she has kids, so Kat can kind of start becoming Pat through and through. Like, it's. But because Michelle Ryan just doesn't want to come back, we are now deprived of that cool storyline where we see Zoe become a mum. But she's not been seen since shortly after Den died. So if it's been coming up to 20 years now, pretty unlikely. What do you reckon?
Yeah. Honestly, like everyone knows the one character I want back but is not returning, which is obviously Hayley Slater. She's alive in the show. In real life, she's rotting in a prison. In real life,
I don't know if she's in prison.
What?
I don't know if she's in prison.
Well, she should be in real life. I'm not going to dive into that. You can believe whatever you want. But the real life actress who plays Hayley Slater. I also.
I mean, the only judgment you need to know is she was hired because someone saw her getting into an argument with a boyfriend at a train station. They went Slater. Sorry, what?
I don't know why. Is that like it's like the fucking hat out of Harry Potter you put on the head, it's like Gryffindor.
Yeah,
Hufflepuff.
Slater.
Hufflepuff. I think that's a fucking Pokemon. I think I've named the wrong brand.
No, it's the right name.
Oh, fair enough. But like, imagine being that trashy, they just point at you. See, I like to imagine they were trying to make it not obvious, but they would just go just directly like that.
Hey, I'm a casting agent at EastEnders. Let's go.
But I would like to see Haley back. Theo, I'd like to see back, even if it's just a short stint. Won't happen, but he could come back. I don't know what he'd do. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe he gets revenge from Freddy. Because Freddy did whack him over the head with an iron. Shades of his ma.
One interesting question, and this topic's been done to death, especially with the recent events in EastEnders. But the obvious and most vocal answer to this is Michelle Fowler, who I don't know what it would take for her to. I don't know what it would take to have Susan Tully, dust off the acting shoes again. I don't know if it's possible. She's happily producing stuff and working behind the scenes. She's retired from on-screen acting. But there's also, what if Sharon? What if we get to the point where Sharon dies on the show? Would that finally do it? Would that finally make them go, we need Michelle Fowler in some way? Because obviously they tried to bring back Michelle Fowler in it's roughly like 2016, 2017, that sort of time period.
Mm-hmm.
And it didn't work. The actress was fine, but the material was not. And they ultimately just kind of denigrated the character and soiled it and firmly put Michelle Fowler back in the bin, where it's like, okay, that experiment failed, and next one now. And it is a dying shame, but in the same way, she's probably one of the very few characters from the 80s you would actually bring back. Because ultimately, a lot of the characters from the 80s, they don't really have that plot, like, at least when Dot was still alive, you bring in, like, Colin and Barry, you bring in Lofty, you bring in Mary the Punk, you bring in Dr. Leg. But Dot was really one of the only people left who would actually be in contact with all those people all those years ago. So, and them appearing at the funeral, let's be honest, Lofty's not returning to the show, is he? Like, he's not. A lot of people wouldn't even know who Lofty is at this point. Mary the Punk, yeah, sure, they established she's had a little, the baby's all grown up, and that's cool. But like, a lot of these actors have very much moved on, and they've not played the role for 40 years now. Like, it's kind of, and it does suck, because I still think that would be a cool angle to get some characters back from the 80s, and you have them be some of the older characters now. Like, it would be cool to see Tony and Kelvin, that, like, Carpenter. That would be cool to fucking see after all this time. It would be cool to see Simon Wicks. It would be cool to see Joe Wicks. Like, there's a lot of characters from that earlier time period that just don't really get looked at, because simply, like, the time disparity between when they were popular and now, like, yeah, it's kind of impossible. But as time goes on, the likelihood of any character from the 80s who aren't still there it goes down drastically.
Yeah. I'm on the topic of Ross Kemp as Grant. He has pretty much now said, and I'm going to take this with a grain of salt because it is Ross Kemp. He changes his mind quicker than the wind. He has said that only one thing will bring him back ever again, which I find is bullshit, because obviously when they really need him, they'll bring him in. But I believe he's just said he'll only return when Phil wants to leave the show forever.
Yeah.
But I'm like, no way, Ross, no way. You'll be back. You'll be back when the money dries up.
I mean, look, he returned for Peggy's, like, final, like, scenes and final week or whatever it was, and he returned for the 40th anniversary. Like, two pretty big milestones to reach. I think his word is somewhat valued in this sense.
Fair enough. And also on the topic of Mary the Punk and Lofty Highway, which I'm sorry, but I've sent this to Ash. But I just always think about alternative histories Photoshop posted, where it's Lofty and Mary the Punk like on a bench, and someone put John Lennon and Yoko Ono in 1968. I don't know why I love it. Because I just love it. But I'd love to see Lofty have one last return. Like, just, I don't care if he gets killed off or he just leaves, but it would be nice to see Lofty back. Mary the punk. It's very. I don't know how you do.
I mean, she wouldn't really be the same character that she was when she left, because she was a young adult raising a baby, like. But you could still have that rebellious streak in her, in a way. Just have her be socially, politically active in a way still, or just do something like that. Like, I don't know. It's just a weird thing because these characters were the original characters, right? It was the original 24 characters conceived to take forward EastEnders and establish this new soap to rival Coronation Street, and these were the characters they picked. I think it would be a shame if we just don't get to see any of them. Like, obviously we saw Angie once more at the 40th, which was a fantastic treat. But, like, you know, that's Angie Watts. She and Den defined the first 3 to 4 years of EastEnders, for crying out loud. So it's kind of, that's probably the best we get him. That's probably the best we got, because all of the links to the 80s are usually pretty much gone and buried. So it does kind of suck. I can pivot to a different direction, though. I think two characters I don't think we'll ever really see again. I don't think we'll ever see Christian and Saeed. I don't think we'll see them again as a couple, because they were a really fun gay couple of a man of faith which condemns homosexuality in certain angles in Saeed, and you had Christian, who is a very openly proud gay man, and he was set to have a big wedding and a big fancy wedding, but him and Amira did not work, and Christian kind of swept in there in the end, and they had a nice, genuine, happy little love story where, you know, Zainab and Masood, they did finally learn to accept that their son was gay, and it was a very popular ship back in the day. And they've left in roughly like early 2010s, I think it's like 2011, 2012. And it just, ever since, they left 2012, they had a nice exit. They are fostering a kid. Yeah. Saeed was a Muslim man, and his mum Zainab was very much against him being gay. But they left in 2012, and they are raising baby Yasmin, who I think is Amira's kid. And they are living in Birmingham, living their best life. And it's been a decade. It's been 13 years now. He didn't even return. He didn't return for Jane's wedding, and Christian only really had small, brief appearances every now and then. So it doesn't, and they did mention a little bit. I'm pretty sure they mentioned a bit about Christian Saeed in Jane's return, a little bit. If I remember correctly, I don't entirely remember what it was, but I'm pretty sure he was mentioned a little bit. But it does just seem like Christian and Saeed are just gonna live out their days in Birmingham, raising not baby anymore, raising little Jasmine, and just getting by. And it's kind of a shame in a way, but it's also not, because it means a gay couple isn't going to be murdered. It means that they're safe and they are protected and they're going to be fine. It'll just be a shame if they'd split them up for no reason and have it to be them to come back. And I mean, likewise, also, it just doesn't really seem to be any direction back for Zainab or Masood. Like, neither really seem pressed to come back either, which kind of sucks, because they did occupy a decent chunk of time during that, like, kind of renaissance as such in EastEnders, where it became a lot more, you know, that like 2007 to like 2010 kind of period. Like, they did occupy a lot of time, and they were pretty fan favorites by the end anyways. So it is a shame that they will likely never come back. Be interesting. I in the same way, I'd also imagine Tamwar's probably not coming back, because they also set up once again another love story between Nancy and Tamwar. and that young love's dream. They finally got together. Oh, and they want Nancy to come back and split up. Oh, well, you spent all this time building up this relationship for nothing. And obviously, that Tamwar's actor, I think it's Himesh Patel, I believe is
Well,
his name. He's living his fucking best life, anyways. Like he's
he met
had
John Lennon.
starring roles. He's in TV shows. He's in movies. He's fucking thriving.
He met John Lennon and George Harrison and Ringo Starr and Paul McCartney. Did he?
But yeah, obviously he was in Yesterday, which was his kind of like breakout film role. Done a good chunk of stuff of just media, done TV shows, been in movies. He was in I don't know half these movies anyways, but look, he's ascending. He is ascending. Will he really be back to EastEnders anytime soon? Pretty unlikely, because you don't, unless you genuinely love and treasure the show. You're probably not gonna go from eating caviar with the stars to eating cereal with your co-stars in your trailer. Like it's kind of a step down to some, and it would really take a true, because EastEnd, and especially soap actors are so maligned for just staying a soap actor that once you get out of that mold, it's really, really hard to. It's like at first it's really hard to get out of that image of being a soap star, because most people view soap actors with no talent and no actual ability. They're just like low rent, cheap kind of just get from A to B stories. But a lot of the soap actors are genuinely very talented. It's just they chose a life for TV work rather than actually kind of, maybe a bit more theatre in there as well. But it's still a pretty bold job choice. And after 4 years, you just get typecast anyways. And he's broken out of that role. How many times do you see Himesh Patel playing the nerdy fucking nerd with glasses and just looking like shit? He didn't look like shit, but still, just point being.
Can I just, if you don't mind, because obviously it's by Tamar, but can I just say I really want them to do more movies like Yesterday? So I like that concept of oh, what happens if we forgot this part of the game of I don't know what else you could do it on it, because obviously with Yesterday there's a lot of things that wouldn't exist, mainly Oasis, but it's just I'd like to see more of those movies. Watching Walford without Ash, how would it work? We don't know.
It wouldn't.
He's the talent, he's the Ocho, but it's just I like those kinds of movies. I haven't seen Yesterday, but I did see that scene with John Lennon.
Of course. Even I've watched it. Even I've fucking watched it.
I did see the scene with John
I've not
Lennon.
fucking seen it, but I think they should do more of it. Did you actually support it and actually watch it properly? Well, no, I didn't fucking watch it, but I like the idea.
Yeah. But I do, like I said, I seen the scene with John Lennon and I nearly fucking cried. Because I'm like, it must be weird in a sense. If you are the son of John Lennon or the sons, must be weird when they're like, okay, we're going to do an alternate reality where your dad's alive, and it's like, babe, yeah, yeah, but
yeah, it's
that scene is honestly that's what made me realize Tam was a good actor. Cause I'm like, Jesus, how did he not brag?
Really good. I mean, the issue with Tamwar's character is Tamwar's character was pretty limited, but by the end, he did kind of gain that confidence and started to figure out who he was, as a man, and what he wanted to do in this world. And it is a shame that they just brutally stamped on Tamwar and Nancy. Obviously, it could be revisited at some point if the opportunity ever arises, but you're not recasting Tamwar. It's not important enough to recast, and the actor's probably too prominent to actually come back at this point. It would be a really good coup for EastEnders if they did manage to do it, because you'd imagine he'd be getting a lot more of a prominent role now than he would back then. But I'd imagine he probably credits a lot of EastEnders for, helping with delivery and just generally. He definitely became a much better comedic performer. Like in the end, he could deliver one-liners like there was no one else. So yeah, it's a shame that he'll probably never come back. But also, it's not a shame that he's at a pretty fruitful career. So what are we gonna do? Hate him for it?
And I guess that's where we kind of leave it. We talked about a lot of things, a lot of characters, and just let us know down below what character would you like to return that is alive but won't. And we will. Sorry, I had to pop there. And we will see you in the next one. Bye bye. Bye bye. Bye bye.